This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
Join us on this week's wrap, where we will be looking at the festive derbies. We'll be looking at how the sides have been doing up till now in the URC and looking ahead to the rest of the season. There's plenty to talk about. There's lots to get on with. Let's do it. You're listening to Wrap, the Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Podcast. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Wrap Podcast with me, Lee G. Joining us as per usual is Harley and Nick. Good evening, gents.
Good evening. Happy New Year.
So, Happy New Year indeed. We are missing the great dragon, Jamie. He's not feeling well, bless him. I think he got cold toes standing out on the terraces over the winter. He genuinely isn't very well, so hopefully he'll be back with us next week. I got a feeling that if Dragons win on the weekend, Jamie will be fine. I got a feeling that if the Dragons don't play particularly well on the weekend, Jamie might need another week to recover. So fingers crossed for next week. So
I don't know. His piss may be on a rolling boil.
It may just be that time of year. Right, let's start with how your festive season went just quickly then, gents. How was your Christmas, Harley, with a little one?
It wasn't too bad. So Christmas Day lasted about a week. Just from the sheer sort of energy. It's just so I was a bit ill coming into it, and then I think my daughter picked it up in the second half, so she was really ill over New Year, which is a shame. But she provided us with lots of great entertainment, particularly when her voice went, and she was still trying to babble away. And it's just probably the most cute thing, let's see. Yeah, it was good. I successfully smoked the Christmas turkey, and no one got food poisoning, so that was good. And my wife did such a good job. She said I was allowed to buy myself a Christmas present of a brand shiny new one. So quite looking forward to breaking that in over the next few weeks.
You've got another barbecue smoker to go with the barbecue smoker. So you've got one indoors and one outdoors now.
No, it's they're both outdoors. It's just now I've got a pellet one with a special controller, so I can do that for really long cooks, and then I've got a little one which doubles up as my barbecue now. But I actually use that to burn all the Christmas wrapping paper, so now I've got to scrub it out properly and put new thermal paint on it.
You confuse me sometimes, Harley. I'll be honest, man.
What can I say? Nick, I also managed to play some rugby as well, so that was quite nice.
Did you win?
I had 20 minutes and was absolutely... I don't know what it is about the pitch down in Devon, but it really takes out your legs, because the pitch is up here. I can do 80 minutes fine. Down there, legs gone after 20.
Maybe it's the altitude, Harley, playing at altitude. That's what
I think it's just because it's on like a really clay pit. It's like a proper clay pitch down at the Black Bull. So it like really saps your legs and it's really forwards. And then you end up playing really forward heavy rugby.
Nothing wrong with that.
Some of the excuses you come
absolutely
up
not.
with.
But as a blindside flanker who doesn't really have a lot of top end pace, having any pace taken out of you really affects me.
I say it's got to. I think we'll just start a list of Harley's excuses for not playing well last week. The pitch is heavy.
I can start it off. Number one each week is I'm terrible at rugby. We can carry on from there.
We'll go from there. What about you, Nick? How was your Christmas, mate?
Oh, it was all right. I've got to be honest. I'm not the greatest fan of Christmas. I can take it or leave it. Obviously, I had a nice time with seeing the kids, my kids, and my partner's kids, and that. And I had a very nice coffee machine. So I'm now saving money by not having to go to coffee houses in the local area. I can make it just as nicely myself. But but it's come and gone. But glad it's over and life gets back to normal.
So is it one of the ones where like you grind your own beans and then you do your own little bits? Not one of the little poppy in a bit. And
it's all integrated. So you just put your coffee beans in, decide which type of coffee you want, and it comes out tasting pretty good.
Ah, that one. See, I've got the old school one where
Yeah.
you grind the beans and then you put it in and you tamp it and you give it a and then you got to put the milk in and give it a and all of that and then put it together.
That's
Proper old
far
school.
too complicated for me, my technical skills.
It's like cooking Christmas dinner. It takes like 10 minutes to make a cup of coffee, and then someone goes, "Oh, lovely," and then they carry on having a conversation, and you're like, "I just slaved over that cup of coffee, boys. It's not fair." All right, let's do a little bit of news desk. Let's move on to rugby stuff. Let's do a little bit of news desk. So the only real news this week has been well over Christmas period. Tennessee and Grace to Cardiff. So Grace announced today, Harley. So do you want to explain the differences between the two and why they're there and how long they're there for?
So first of all, Hennessy came over with as injury cover because we lost Mason Grady um and Harry Millard, who are our main sort of centre options behind Ray Lilo, so we need some cover there. He's on a short-term loan. I think it's a 3-month job. Yeah, I don't remember the exact details. It might be to the end of the season, but that's a loan deal, so he goes back to Bath at the end of it. And because he's registered in Bath's Champions Cup squad, he's only able to play URC games. Reagan Grace now has signed a deal, so we bought him out. Well, he's been released from his contract at Bath. We signed him to the end of the season. As far as I know, it's just a short-term deal to the end of the season. I'm presuming that if he comes through this relatively unscathed, they might extend it.
Yeah.
But obviously, with his injury record, I think it's a good bit of business to only sign him to the end of the season. First of all, see what's what, and then decide from there. Very similar to what we did with Gabriel Henry Webb last season. And again, with Gabe going down injured against the Ospreys, we only had Josh Adams as our only senior fit winger. So I know there were a few comments about Cardiff, all their type 5 issues, and they signed another tarty back. It's like, yeah, it's because we actually have none left. We broke them all. It's a bit like at Christmas Day, the kids have opened presents and broken half of it before they get to lunch.
I was listening to Tom Shanklin commentator, and I thought that I thought your
I'm
backs
calling
could
you
just.
on that. You don't listen to Tom Shanklin. You've moved him straight away.
It's true. I did make the mistake of leaving him on comms at one point, and I took my headphones off and I was just watching the screen, and then put my headphones on, and he was talking. It was too much for me. It was too much for me. Anyway, what I will say, other than those two, is that Christmas time, just after Christmas, is when all the stupid rumors start. When all of the players' contracts are being renegotiated. Most of them get done over Christmas, and they're kind of done and dusted by first week of January, second week of January, and then you have the ones who are not quite sure after that, and that's when you get the rumours in the paper that so and so's been looked at by Leicester and Glasgow and all of this kind of stuff. So just everything over the next couple of weeks comes with a pinch of salt, because that's how agents make their money. That's just what they do. So, other than that, no real. I mean, we are 6 days into the new year, and so far the WLU have not fucked up 2025 yet. We'll leave the end of 2024 there. I know people are not happy about some stuff that happened there, but so far 2025 for the WRU, clean slate, no fuck ups. 6 days in. Okay, let's talk about the festive reviews then. So obviously 2 derbies over the festive period. So Jamie's not here, so I'm gonna talk about the Dragons ones just for him. So Jamie was okay on Saturday night, so they recorded a review of the 2 festive games on Saturday. So for Dragons fans, go and have a listen to Dragons Layer, because the stuff that you want to hear is all in there. Jamie and Gav do go through it, and Gav talks about his annual Christmas chocolate competition, World Cup, and all that kind of stuff, which is probably more interesting for most Dragons fans than Dragons rugby at the minute. What I will say about what managed to watch both games, I still don't think that the Dragons are as bad as their results are giving out. They were literally one decision away from beating Cardiff. And I think if you go back and look at the turnover off a line out, who was it? Came on, hooker. Welsh hooker came on. Elliot D. So the referee called him for diving on the ball. It came out the side of a ruck. That comes off Aled Davis's foot. It looks a little bit iffy, but they never went back and reviewed it. If that gets given and he's turned that over, they're in the lead and the ball's 50 meters down the pitch. It went
he did
on.
Dive off. He did dive off his feet when within a meter of a ruck, which is against law. To be fair,
but it came off Aled Davis's foot back into the ruck. So that's a penalty the other way, and that's what I mean. It's small margin. It's small margins, but what I'm saying is Dragons aren't as bad as they're making out. You know, they were in that game and they were giving you a nasty shot for a long time. And the same with the Scarlets game. They ballsed up 3 clear try scoring opportunities. A couple of them, you had to work really hard to not score, and some of them are just the one with Basham where he's kind of down on the floor, but he's okay to give a pass, and he gives a pass. It doesn't go to hand. Scarlets secure the ball, clear it. That pass goes to hand. That's in for a try, and we're back to 10-all. You know, and then you're in a very different game, and you know to cock up 3. I think the difference is for the Dragons, they're now creating the chances, and it is getting better. I know it doesn't feel like it if you're a Dragon supporter at the minute, and there are all sorts of issues. But for me, I can see bits where Dragons are improving, and it's frustrating when it takes time because everybody wants it straight away. But I can see little bits of improvement there, and I think end of the season there'll be another fairly hefty shake-up there, and Dragons will improve again. So, you know, I think I said at the time that the second half against the Scarlets was quite poor, but I think that's where the heads went down and just went, I've had enough. But I think against Cardiff showed really what Dragons can do. So heads up and all that kind of stuff. But if you really want the analysis on that, then Dragons Lair is the place to go for that one. So let's move on to Ospreys. So Nick, 2 games over Christmas. Your thoughts?
I thought in some ways for us they're a bit similar, even though different results. I think we had chances in the first half in both games which we didn't capitalise on, and we could have made the games possibly a bit more comfortable. You know, we're just not as efficient as we were quite last year. It's not much in it. I don't put a lot down. I like Mark Jones seems to have come over quite well when I've listened to him, and obviously I've followed his career a bit before. But I don't think you can put it down to Mark Jones's influence. Or what I put it down to is having a few key players back in the forwards. I think that's massively improved our performance. We've got, we can put out 2 decent front fives. And 2 decent back rows, and I think that's been the difference. So the Scarlet game, Scarlet came with a away sort of. They wanted to play it as an away game, take the points, and and try and get ahead. They've scored a fantastic try off the line out just before half time, but that was our fault because we gave a penalty away, which allowed the Scarlets to get into our 22. And that Scarlets to me didn't look like scoring much. We missed some chances, and we stayed in the game, and it was a typical Osprey game. We run it right at the depth. And then going on to the Cardiff game, I think we definitely went there, targeted the Cardiff scrum. We had quite a bit of joy out of that. Obviously, Fender getting sent off put a little bit of a spanner in the works. No problems with sending off, by the way. I think it was a clear red. Couldn't see it on the day I was there, but when you see the replays, we've got to stop those type of challenges. He's not a dirty player, but he was very clumsy. And then we just decided, well, the only way we're going to stay in this game is trying to restrict Cardiff, which I think we did pretty efficiently. I think we showed lack of game management in the last 5 minutes, where I could understand going for the corner, trying to get a try, a driven maul try, but because there was a little bit of a wind there. I don't know if you were there, Harley, but I think there was a little bit of wind. But and also, yeah, and also we'd have played the last 2 or 3 minutes with Cardiff with the ball and back in our own half. So I'm with Cardiff are back up to 15. So I understand that shout, but what I couldn't understand why somebody wasn't screaming for the ball. Dan had gone off. Why Walsh wasn't screaming for the ball for a drop goal, because we were banging away at the line. We weren't getting anywhere. Great defence from Cardiff, in fairness, but surely somebody should have just winged it back. Anybody in the back should be able to bloody drop a goal in front of the post from 15 yards out. So settle for the draw, but really we should have probably won that game as well.
Okay, so this will be the fun bit. Let's flip that one round then. Harley, you're
So I'm gonna do these in reverse order because I do want to add my thoughts onto that derby game. So first of all, actually quite good for us because we have a terrible record against the Ospreys on New Year's Day, whether it's Cap, Regend, whatever, Swamp, the Liberty. We always have a terrible time, and it is basically Ospreys, like a lot of other teams, know the way to beat Cardiff is up front. So they made it so that one-man disadvantage didn't matter so much because they kept it tight. The first thing they did at halftime was bring on James Ratty, and they took off Max Nagy. Because Ospreys are self-aware to the point they know their attack isn't that wide or fluid. If they're going to do anything, it's usually through the forwards. So it's important for them to keep that 8-man pack and just grind it out against Cardiff, and they did that really well. I think Cardiff were naive. I think our kicking game wasn't. You could see we were trying to use the kicking game, but probably not in the right way. I feel because Max Nagy isn't the most aerially secure fullback. I think actually Jack Walsh is probably better in that respect. But we weren't trying to find the gaps. And being a bit naive, playing a bit too much. Something Cardiff been incredibly guilty of whenever we're a man up, and we play to width, and it's just all you need is a hard drift. We're not doing anything to tie in defenders. That being said, happy with the win. The win over Dragons was pleasant, but unexpected. I felt like we didn't deserve to win. I mean, we were involved in the 2 worst games of this festive season again. But I mean, we got 7 points out of it, so that's what I mean. We haven't lost, but we in terms of us trying to go up to a league position from last year, we got the same for both games. So I think we only got 1 point in New Year's Day. No, we got 2, both Ospreys games last season. So
that's the difference with last year, though, isn't it? Last year you were just managing to lose games. This year you're just managing to. Last year you probably should have won more games, and you were sitting there going, "How are we not winning these games?" And this year you're winning them, and you're going, "How did we win those games?" So you're never happy, Harley. Let's be fair, mate. You're never happy.
I mean, of course not. But I'm a Welsh rugby fan. Of course I'm never happy. One thing I have noticed, and it's a very worrying trend. Callum Sheedy misses that first kick. We have a really shocking performance. Like, if you look at that Ulster game where he was absolutely flawless, Cardiff, absolutely fantastic. But I said, I'm not blaming it all on Sheedy. It just seems to be some sort of mojo with Cardiff, where if things are going to start going wrong, they start going wrong very quickly. And we're just about being able to hold it enough by a scruff of the neck to eke out a draw or the win. But it is worrying. And I'm going to call this out, as I do every week on Dakota Central. Give Ben Thomas the fucking kicking tee. He can do it.
Kicking from hand as well, Harley. Sheedy doesn't get much ground kicking from hand if you have a penalty.
It's usually Ben Thomas because Ben Thomas takes pretty much all the restarts as well. So
you could see there the difference when Dan. I know he missed one, but when you're going for it, it happens. But you could see a penalty to Cardiff and a penalty to the Ospreys. We were getting at least 10 meters more than you.
Yeah, I mean, I know part of that is the wind on the taff, but even with the wind, sometimes it doesn't look. It's one of those things. I do kind of wish we had Tinas a bit more, because all right, his goal kicking is not is probably as bad as Sheedy's, but at least we'll get onto it for other things, but at least he's going to be solid in defence, and also having that extra jackal threat in the midfield is always useful. And again, referring back to Dragons Lyrics out, they were talking about how actually they probably could do worse than have signing Tina Stabia.
Well, I said start the season, well, not start the season, but a couple of games in, that's where their weak point was. If they had a decent 10 that can control the game and add something to the game, I think that things will start to click. Anyway, let's move on. I'll do Scarlets again, obviously. So 2 missed kicks against the Ospreys. I'll be honest with the stuff that went on the week before, and then referee was announced. Every Scarlet that I know changed their prediction. I know you don't like seeing it, Harley, but go back and watch the game. I'll do a highlights reel just for you. I'm not going to put it out, but I'll do a highlights reel just for you. But we missed 2 kicks. It cost us. I thought we completely dominated the first half. I think there were 14 Ospreys penalties in the first half without a single warning, not a single warning of a yellow card. We had 3 penalties in the second half and we get a warning. So there's bits like that kind of went against us on the day and we just needed to capitalise. But compared to where it could have been, I thought we were a couple of passes away from absolutely putting that game to bed in the first half. So, there's not too much to complain about on it, but we will be better, bigger and better next season. Things are starting to click in the way they need to, particularly up front. I think it's up front is where we need to do it again. If we can't defend it, the only bit where we really need to improve now, and I said this all last season, was in tight. Our defence that wide is actually quite good. If we could defend in tight, we'd be fine. I think the Dragons game was just a very, very different game. We cut loose. I think we got lucky with that first one, and it kind of opened the game up straight away. And Dragons were chasing it. You could see from the way they were trying to play. So it was quite a free-flowing, open game. There wasn't much niggle in it. There was a little bit, but nowhere near what there has been in the last couple of years. Should we have done? There's 2 schools of thought in bringing everybody off on 50 minutes. The game was done. The game was finished and wrapped up by 50 minutes. Bonus point in the bag. Thank you very much. And then we brought on 5 players, and I think we switched 5 players on the 50 minutes. Those players that came on need the game time. Archie Hughes needs the game time. Gareth Davis needs a rest. Gareth Davis needs about 4 weeks in Barbados at the minute. The guy's battered. So, yeah, I get, Costello was kicking well. He was in control. He was running the game. He was running rings. Why take him off? Because in 3 or 4 weeks' time, he's not going to be there. And we're going to rely on Joe and Lloyd. And we need Joe and Lloyd and Archie Hughes to actually start playing together. So I totally get why we were frustrated. If we'd kept playing with that setup, maybe another 10, 15 minutes, we probably would have put another 4 or 5 tries on the board. As it happens, we've got boys that have got game time now that desperately need game time. So I'm not too bothered about the fact that we didn't go on and stick a stupid score on them. I thought the Dragons came back well. So I think there's a lot of positives to be taken out of the whole Christmas period. And again, we don't seem to be suffering injuries. Last year, it was like Tin Can Alley. You throw one ball and 4 boys would go down. This year, fingers crossed, touch wood, we're actually doing okay. So the one bit I will say that I'm expecting to be announced this week is right on that final whistle, on that last play, Dragons were attacking and completely off the ball. You only sit in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Johnny Williams just clotheslines inside centre or outside half or whatever, and looked like it was a real nasty one. I would not be surprised to see him cited for that, because it was a stupid thing to do. So
if he was going to be cited, it would have happened by now. So if you haven't heard,
that's what I. But when I look back at it and I thought, how on earth, if that's middle of the game, he's off. That's reviewed. The only reason he stayed on the pitch was because the next whistle was the final whistle, and the TMO didn't get a chance to come in and send him off. So
it's a tough one, isn't it? sorry, it's just tough for all of it. You don't get any. It won't. Where we finish in the league, all our teams will come down to points scored, bonus points, and so on. It's not going to come down to difference of points. I don't think so. So you're not going to scoring another 3 tries. Yeah, it might look good on paper, but it's not at the end of the season. I don't think that's going to be the difference between 9th and 10th. It'll be around, and once you've got your bonus points, it's more or less game over, isn't it?
Well, if you look at it, so even yourself, Harley, in third on 28 points, and Munster in 11th on 21. Potentially even the Lions in 12th place. Lions were all singing, all dancing at the start of the season, a couple of iffy weeks, and they're down in 12th on 19 points.
And they do have 2 games in hand, to be fair.
Yeah, they do, don't they? Yeah.
But they are derbies, so they tend to lose it. So I don't know if you know,
it's really, really tight in that middle bit.
Just as a sort of thing to basically, I'm sure most of our listeners are aware, but the way it goes in URC is points. So basically, your number of league points. Then it goes to number of wins. So if you've got the same points but more wins, then you go through. Then it's points difference, and then I think it's tries scored. So that's how it tiebreakers. It's very rare you see it going to past points difference though. So points difference is only it's only a third thing, and I'll be honest, that's quite spread out anyway.
And you usually need about 50 points to get into the playoffs, don't you?
Yeah, it's I think it depends. I think last year it showed you need a little bit more. So
right,
what
on
average,
Ospreys
finished on last season should have been comfortably playoffs last season. The 2 seasons previous. But because the likes of Cardiff and Scarlets and Dragons, Zebra won nothing, it sort of inflated the top. Whereas I think this season's probably a little bit closer.
Yeah.
So that actually, it's the number of points you'll need will be fine. You don't necessarily need as many. But either way, you're looking at, you've got to have at least 9 wins, I think.
Yeah. At the halfway point, Edinburgh in 8th on 22 points. And, everyone down to the Ospreys in 14th, only 1 game, 1 win away, 1 bonus point win away. That's how tight it is. I'd say probably Zebra and Dragons are out of it at the bottom, and Leinster and Glasgow are stretching away at the top. But yeah, everybody can be caught.
Probably as well. Again, they've got 2 games in hand, so
yeah, it's those derbies, 2 games in hands. Yeah, but you don't know. Anyway, we'll leave that for the rewind, boys. So if you are enjoying what you're seeing and what you're hearing, please do give us a rate and a like and subscribe on YouTube. Makes a massive difference to us, makes us feel warm and cuddly inside, and it lets us know that people are actually watching us, which is quite nice. So yeah, any comments and anything that you want, by all means, chuck them at us. Keep them constructive though. So what I will say is, go on, Hal. Go on.
I just wanted to add, whilst we're doing this, we are now on Blue Sky.
See, he's like a step ahead. I like this guy. You can stay. I like you. Yeah, everybody is now on Blue Sky. All of our feeder pods are on Blue Sky.
And one helpful Blue Sky user has set up a Blue Sky list that you can follow, which has all the pods, all the presenters as they come over to Blue Sky. So they're all in one place for you ready.
We followed quite a few standard kind of people. We followed Line Break Rugby, and I've noticed this as well as I was setting them all up. It is getting a little bit Twitter-like, where your first 5 followers are all young, scantily clad young ladies with a link in their profile and all of this. So Line Break Rugby shared their followers list and said, look, this is getting a little bit ridiculous now with all these fake people. And it was like Svetlana, Yasinska, Lucy, Ospreys Irie, Joanna. So we shared this list of like 8 fake accounts, and the Ospreys Irie are right in the middle, and everyone just comments about the Ospreys and the Ospreys Irie account. So there was a nice bit of free advertising for us. Yes, they are. We are now all on there, Harley. Quite right. The bit I was going to say was, so when I said about comments and what have you was we did some stuff. Santa gave us some new stuff over Christmas that we tested out, and just to see how it works. And I was quite clear about that at the time. We're just going to test it. This isn't going to replace the pod. This is just let's see how it works. Let's see what happens and all that. It didn't quite work because you can't get the 4 voices, so you've got to put like it's all done basically on AI, and so I'd have to go like Harley says blah 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 blah. Lee says blah 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 blah. Harley says blah 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 blah, and it didn't quite do it right. So you should, at some point we'll be able to split voices and all of this kind of stuff. Some people just kind of went for it and went completely off on a Trumpian. Guys, wind your neck in. A couple of people did put some really helpful comments on there, so thank you. That's what it was out there for. It was to test and see what can we use it for, how do you work it, and it's to do with how you type the words, and that's how you get the intonation in. So there's like a whole new AI language to learn about how you write words. Bizarre. Anyway, let's move on to the halfway report. So, as I said, we are halfway through the season. We did make predictions. I'm not going to dig out our predictions from the start of the season because that just seems like a long time ago. But halfway report on where we are at the moment. So let's go top to bottom. Harley, you can go first because Cardiff are in 3rd position in the table at the minute. So what have you made of it so far? What are you hoping for or dreading in the second half of the season?
So first of all, I can remember my start of season prediction. I predicted we would be top 3, top 4 at this point, because as I'll get on to later, the way our fixtures fell, this was by far easiest. And I say we've had this for a couple of seasons now. We've had a really nice first block, and I felt we haven't always made the most of it. I think we have a bit better this time, but with a few caveats. First of all, game against Glasgow, that was just absolute. That first 20 minutes was absolutely shocking, and that threw us off. We got the Scarlet Derby the wrong way round. I thought we'd win the home game and lose the away, but do you know what? We won one, got some bonus points the other, so not so bad for that. And again, Edinburgh away. No, we shouldn't be losing that badly to Edinburgh. So those were sort of downsides. On the plus side, we've been finding ways to win, or at least not lose, as was the case against the Ospreys. So I think probably par for the course. My big worry is we've used up most of our home games now, so we've only got 3 league home games left. We've got Sharks the week before Six Nations, so we're going to lose all our internationals. Lions the week after Six Nations, so we're going to not going to have any of our internationals. And then we have Munster, which the way Munster are playing at the moment, they're so hat sand. What I think one team is scoring 50. I don't know which. I genuinely don't know which, but one team is going to score 50. It might be one scores 50, the other 60, but it's that sort of level. And then we've got South Africa tour at the end, as do all the Wash regions, and Leinster, Connacht, and Benetton away, with Leinster and Connacht being in the middle of Six Nations. So that's a bit fun. Actually, it's a bit of a discussion point I wanted to bring with you guys around the festive derbies. Obviously, we've sort of been, with the exception of the Osprey Scarlets, who played the same weekend as everyone else, it sort of dripped us out. We almost lose an extra weekend. Would we be better off just keep playing weekend and say that weekend we had fallow before the Autumn Internationals, playing them and then not having the weekends in the Six Nations? Would you rather that or keep things as they are?
You make of it, Nick, because we both played on that Saturday. So what did you make of it?
Well, obviously that was only down to us not on their own ground. Swans having primacy on the Swansea.com. Otherwise, it would have, like, next year that won't happen, will it? Because we'll have our own ground by the time we play. So, just looking at fixtures for us, we're playing Leinster in the middle of the Six Nations at home. Sorry. Well, I'd rather play them in the middle of the Six Nations than play them in October. Because they're so strong. They've got 45 good players, haven't they? So at least we might have a chance at home in the middle of this, because if Gatland's good to his word, he won't pick many Ospreys in his squad. So we might be able to put a decent 15 anyway up against Leinster. So I haven't really got a strong opinion in. Sorry, Harley.
So for me, I get what you mean about just sticking to the Saturdays because that's what everyone else does. I think the issue with it is it's tradition. Tradition is to play the big games on Boxing Days, and I've been to Boxing Day derbies at the park where people were getting turned away. So when we say it was full, there were literally people at the box office getting turned away as you're walking in with your ticket and going, "Look, we're full. We can't even fit you in on the terrace." So we can see why the clubs would want to stick with that. Um, for me, I'm not that. I do enjoy a Boxing Day game. I do enjoy watching it on Boxing Day. But you're right, it does kind of cock up a little bit of the stuff for the rest of the season. So if it's going to be on Boxing Day and New Year's Day, we got to make sure that it pays its way, and the marketing's got to be right. And I don't think we got the marketing right for these this year.
Well, I think it was all right for. I mean, I know Cardiff and Dragons, their home games, they both sold out. So we've had a full day parade, full cap.
Yeah,
I think
know it's a bit different with the Swansea.com as it's a much larger stadium.
I think there'd have been another 1,000 on that gate if it had been on Boxing Day.
Oh yeah, I'd say probably more. I don't know what the Ospreys gate was. It was probably about 7,000-8,000.
Yeah, but I think there'd have been at least another. You might have got close to 10 if it had been Boxing Day.
Whereas,
I mean, even though it wasn't a festive derby, Exeter Gloucester on the 29th, so the Sunday sort of in betwixtmas, that was a sellout 15,000.
Yeah, and that's
I'll
where
be honest,
we need to
not
be.
the best atmosphere, but that's just my own opinions of how Exeter cheer on their team. But yeah, that's the thing. It's, to be honest, to me, it's probably more wider point about how stupid the rugby season is. You have all that momentum, then you have the autumn internationals, then you have a week of URC, then you have some Europe, and actually maybe. I'm a big fan of the people who I'm coming around to the suggestion of having Europe right at the end, and you have it all in one, even if it is just as a knockout competition like the FA Cup.
Yeah,
or making it more like typical cup competitions, and there's a couple of weekends throughout. But
I'm a big fan of playing summer rugby, simply because we live in one of the wettest parts of Northern Europe, and why the hell would we want to willingly offer at least 3 or 4 weekends every year where nobody's going to want to leave the house? So anyway, that's an
I know we're
argument
going far off tangent, but I was just thinking as well with like I still think that's a big reason why the Southern Hemisphere tend to do so well at the World Cup as well, is their season is structured so well for World Cup years. Because they have their clubs game, which gets them up ready for internationals. They play a few friendlies, and they have a big tournament. A couple of sort of just throwaway games whilst they're warmed up, and then they're straight in. Whereas, like in the Northern Hemisphere, you've got a bit of club season, Six Nations, bit more club, Europe, then nothing for a few weeks. Then you might have some warm up camps, warm up tours, and then you go in.
So, over Christmas, Harley, on our WhatsApp group, where we discussed kind of sticking to the point and not drifting off onto crazy bits. So, we could kind of keep it.
But we haven't done a pod in nearly 3 weeks, and these thoughts will have to come out somewhere. And my wife won't talk to me anymore.
Right, let's do next in the league, which is Scarlets in 6th. I think if you'd have said to anybody in the Park of Scarlets at the end of last season, you'll be 6th halfway through, we'd have gone, thank you very much. Yes, I'll live with that. I think the fact that we've come so close in 4 games, literally a couple of stupid decisions, a couple of stupid penalties, and we could be 4 more games won. So, compare that to last season, yeah, that's a massive improvement on where we are. Coaching team is more settled. Everyone just seems to be working together. I think some of that is Lee Jones coming in and taking some of the pressure off, Dwayne Peel doing some of the less exciting and sexy stuff. That's it. And we know Scarlets have invested in recovery and protection and S&C in a way, so to stop the injuries. You can see that working. So it's been clever stuff. Some of our Our recruitment has been superb. Max Douglas is massive. Marnus van der Merwe, just superb. And our front row is improving. It's not where it needs to be, but it's improving massively. So yeah, I'm really happy with it so far. Yes, it could have been so much better. I know there's loads of Scarlets fans out there going, if we're going to be top of Europe, blah 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 blah. We got to build. You don't become top of Europe with a click of a fingers. You build and then build and then build. And I think that's what we're doing. So yeah, the rest of the season, Edinburgh at home, Munster at home, Stormers at home. I think the key game before we go down under is Leinster away. I think it's the Leinster game. So that kind of depending on where we are before those 3 weeks. We got Judgment Day before that. So just after Judgment Day, we play Leinster, then we play Lions and Sharks. And that's a real heavy end to the season. So, all of the games up till then, even Stormers at home, I think are winnable, more than winnable. Ospreys at home as well after that. So I don't look at it anymore with fear, not even Munster. I think we'll give Munster a really good game, and it'll be another close one. I think Ulster will be a close game. They're a bit iffy at the minute, and I think Leinster will be a close game as well. So, yeah, I sounds cocky, but I'm looking forward to it. It's genuinely am. I think there's a lot of positivity in the club at the minute. Still lots of stuff to get sorted, but compared to where we were this time last season, we were having emergency pods on, do we get rid of Dwayne Peel? What's going to happen with this? Let's sack the whole board. Let's blow up Parker Scarlett. It was real stupid stuff at this time last year, whereas now it's like, well, we were 3 penalties away from being 6 points better off. So, more than happy with where we are at the minute in 6th. Where do I think we'll finish? I think I'd forecast us to finish in 8th. Looking at how we're playing at the minute and the way things are going, I can see us holding 6th and probably, at some point we'll go up 5th, 4th. Whether we can hold 5th and 4th, I don't know, but we'll be in that kind of bracket. So, yeah, I'll be quite happy to finish in 6th at the end of the season now on that one. Okay, let's drift down and down and down into the dark areas, through the mire that is the lower edges. But 14th is Ospreys. Nick, what have you made of the season so far?
Well, actually, we've lost one more game and drawn a game. This time last year we'd won 6 all games, including the Europe, and lost 5. This year we won 4, lost 6, and drawn 1. A couple of games have very much disappointed me though. Zebra away, that was a poor performance. We didn't. We should have won that game, and to concede 9 tries to Montpellier was unacceptable. And I think ultimately that's why Toby went, because that was an acceptable performance. And also, I was in Munster. We had a gale with us in the second half, and we couldn't score a point. It was virtually impossible not to score. So there's been some disappointing performances, but I do think we've got better resources for the second half of the season. We have a number of our forwards back now, and they do make a difference, as we saw on New Year's Day. So I think we'll have a decent pack. We'll have Beard back sometime before the end of the season as well. So I expect us to pick up quite a few more wins, especially at home. And obviously, we're playing Cardiff on Judgment Day again. I think there'll be a winner in that game, if nothing else, Harley. It's supposed to be our home game, but we'll see. So I don't think we've do enough because of the away games to get into the top 8. But I think about 9th or 10th, possibly at the end of the season. And for me as well, obviously with Mark Jones, it's seeing if we can develop our attacking game a bit more. See how that, if that develops, to a satisfactory level, and then obviously then he's got the summer then to work pre-season and put a little bit of more gloss on that. So yeah, and hopefully a good cup run. So for me, the next two games in the cup, in the Challenge Cup, are in very important games for us. Hopefully, getting in a home draw then for the round of 16. So yeah, not a great season, but I still think we'll do better in the second half than we've done the first.
Okay, it's a weird one, isn't it? Where you how you treat Europe. Do you treat it as uh, let's throw everything at the league and put the seconds and thirds out in Europe and just accept that you're not going to win, or do you try and keep the momentum building and all of that, but then risk the injuries? It's a weird one for everyone at the minute. With that Cardiff, I'd be going like, right, okay, I don't care about Europe. We're in third. Let's try and keep it this.
The problem with Cardiff is we've got to keep playing the same players because they're the players we have.
Yes.
As I said, it's the whereas said Ospreys had lost everyone in one position. We've sort of lost, but it's weird. We've sort of lost almost the second and third. So the people we would rotate in are the people who are injured.
And I guess that, that's part of the problem with our all four, really, isn't it? And the salary cap is we haven't got that strength in depth. Where 4 or 5, half decent players, even if they're not first choice, would allow that, wouldn't they? And and that's what we can't do. And you're very then much dependent on can you keep your best 25 players fit.
Well, Cardiff are down to there's a guy in the ticket office that only works a Tuesday and a Thursday, and they keep saying, "Have you got your boots, mate?" So yeah, it's.
I'm still waiting for the next unretirement to Dan Fish. To be honest, it's coming. We're only a fullback away.
I spoke to him at the start of the season for the SRC pod. He promised me that he had retired, and I said to him, I think I said to him on air, I said, "But you've promised before." He said, "No, I've promised." So this is it. We're done.
The problem is the Fish can't resist the call to Cardiff.
You can see that somebody in the coaching team is sitting there just going, "I'll just have a little look through my phone. Let's see who." Oh, Fish. We've got down Fish on. Shall I just give him a quick buzz, just see if he's available?
I think we were quite unlucky because I think we had a natural guy ready to go in the Rags in Derby Cross, and he got injured literally just before all our injuries started. Because a lot of people thinking him coming up there.
The one thing I've been impressed with the Scarlets this year is the lack of injuries and the speed of return to injury. So we've been told that there's been a big focus on that in the off season and through the season, and how we look after players and all of this kind of stuff. So whatever we're doing, everyone else.
That's one thing I would like to say is a lot of people commented with Josh Adams returning over this sort of period was they've never seen him with such little tape on him. Yeah. So I think actually giving the looks of him and Faletau those extra few weeks, even when we probably could have done with them, in Europe, it's quite useful.
I will say my favourite commentator, when I had my headphones on, did say after Toby Faletau had been on the pitch for about 3 minutes that this is the guy that's going to carve up the Six Nations. You can see it in him already. He touched the ball once. Yeah, and I think that was a catch, and he got into contact and secured contact. This is the guy that he's gonna tear up the Six Nations this year. So
I just think that says more about where Wales are than anything.
Right, let's do Dragons. Probably all of us together. I mean, I can see why Dragons fans are getting so frustrated with everything, and I don't blame them. And I know it's hard. And we've all been in that. All of our teams have been in that position where we've had an off season or an iffy season, and then an off season, and then an okay season. And Dragons just seem to be having bad season after bad season after bad season, and you can see why supporters lose hope. You really can. But I said they're not that far away from actually turning in some decent results. The problem is every week they don't turn in those results every week, and they're not quite close enough to be, within a try or within
I do have a very damning stat about them, though.
on them.
On average, they concede one try bonus point a game. So that's on average. So obviously there are a couple of games where they got blown out with Watership.
It was massive.
But it's like that's you're always going to face an uphill struggle if you're conceding 4 tries a game.
Going back to where we
scoring 2, so something's good. But I have seen some very good improvements in them. But I think they've come so far, but they've got so far to go still that sometimes it looks like nothing.
I think going back to what we're saying, there's 2 clubs which I think last year recruited very well. Scarlets most definitely. Cardiff, not bad at all. We didn't particularly. Some of the Welsh players, I think Hardy's starting to look half decent, but we haven't seen Cocker-Singer. He's played about 50 minutes, and I'm picking up that they're not particularly happy with some of the rehab he's been doing. And he's picked something else up. So and I'd say other than Shane Lewis Hughes, look, this one, the lad is is he Fijian or Samoan lad, Funaki? He hasn't played for them at all. So
he went there needing a knee. I think Jamie and Gav was saying he went there needing a knee op and then picked up an infection, which is just for me massive red flags.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was talking to someone who's a bit more into Super Rugby and said he was all injured a lot for Moana Pacifica as well.
And I think that's possibly. Sorry,
size picked over actual usefulness.
Yeah, and I think that's why even if we do get more money, and hopefully we'll find out soon that is the case, we've got to be so careful in our recruitment that we don't go down this road, and any of us in the future, where we're picking up players who've got, unfortunately, poor injury records.
Yeah, I know I've given Scarlets the stick for all their non-Welsh qualified, but they're playing week in, week out, or near enough. They're getting their money's worth out. Josh McNally, the poor bugger, he's not going to, I'd be very surprised if he gets a contract anywhere else after this season, because I don't think he'll have any in his legs, because we are getting every ounce of flesh out of him.
Yeah.
But
but at least you're getting it, aren't you, Harry? You're at least getting it for him, aren't you?
Yeah. I feel like the Ospreys did miss a trick, because I feel like, especially with the long-term injury defender, plus losing Alan Jones retired, George North went, Cuthbert went. You thought there was money in the budget there. I know they've got a great Type 5 resources anyway, but considering their game is so pinned on having a powerful Type 5, I'm surprised they didn't sign anyone, at least short, bit more short term.
Yeah. And I didn't anticipate that like Sutton, Fend were going to be out for so long. Ratty, because they went into the season injured, and I thought they'll be back in a month, and it's like 3 months later when they'd come back.
Well, to bring it back to the Dragons, what I will say the Dragons did at the end of last season, one of the first things they announced when they bought themselves back out of WRU control was investment in academy. Yeah, and this is the one area where Cardiff have got a fairly decent academy setup. Scarlets kind of had, but have really improved that this season and have kind of taken it up a notch with 5 mini academies. Ospreys has got quite a tight, small catch, geographically a small tight area, so recruitment for academy has been quite straightforward for them, and Dragons have always suffered on it. So when they invested in they didn't have academy contracts. They didn't use academy contracts up until last season. Yeah, so going on to academy contracts, getting boys at 16, 17, 18 and saying, right, you're going to be a Dragon for the next 5 years. Bang, this is how it's going to go. Having tie-ups with like Hartbury and Bristol colleges and all of those kind of things, that makes sense for the Dragons. The Dragons training ground is 45 minutes away from Hartbury. Why would you not tie that in really, really early? So they've made a lot of improvements, which might not come good for another 2 years, 18 months. Yeah. And when they do, that will be like, oh, you see that money that we invested 3 or 4 years ago and we've been building. Yeah, that's where the gap was before. So yeah, this season, you look at Dragons fixtures for the rest of this season. What did I write down? Glasgow, Ulster, Stormers, Ospreys, Bulls. It's not an easy end to the season. The one game that they have got, 28th of February, Zebra away. That is absolutely massive for them. All sorts of rumours with Zebra not being around next season. How is that affecting the Zebra players? Is that going to be, what's the point in playing? Are we playing for contracts and people are going to be signing contracts and, the head's going to be leaving? Why am I playing? So, there's all sorts of stuff that might play into the Dragons kind of pot for that one, but that's got to be a massive focus for them now. But that's all the rest of the games, maybe Ulster, maybe Edinburgh. The rest of them look hard games, really, really tough games. So that Zebra game is a must win for the Dragons. And, like I said, the Dragons haven't been that far away from actually putting some decent performances together. We can all see improvements happening. There's small improvements. If we can keep seeing small improvements lasting for 65, 70, 75, 80 minutes, they'll start to turn fixtures their way. It may not be this season. They may finish bottom of the table still, but I think you can see improvements coming. And I think as long as people can see improvements coming on the pitch, they'll stick with it. I think the danger is if they don't see the improvements and results go against them, then people do start walking away. And I think that's a real issue. I've seen Dragon supporters this week saying, "Can we stop talking about the Ospreys going and start talking about folding the Dragons?" Yeah, and that not as a joke or anything like that. That's how frustrated Dragon supporters are at the minute. So,
just want to give the last word to Jamie and Gav. What they were saying on Dragon's Lair, because obviously Reece Blumberg came out in an interview and was saying now they're in line to make a profit this year. I'm saying fans don't give a damn about whether or not we're making money. As long as there's enough money there to know that the club's safe, that's fine. What they want to see is results, and they want to see a long-term plan. And like the announcement with Philo Tier, basically they're going to have a board meeting, ask him if he wants it, then they're going to start looking for a head coach. Whereas, I think what they wanted, and I imagine most of us would want in that situation, is no, you ask him if he wants the job before, or if he's interested in applying the job. When you're thinking about getting rid of Dyflan, then you go, and then if he says yes, great, then you don't have to move on. You say it's a succession plan, similar to what they've done with Mark Jones at the Ospreys, and then you start looking. But what they've done now is they've wasted 2 months. They're going to have wasted 2 months hoping that he says yes, and if he says no, well, now they've got to start the recruitment process. When Munster have got rid of a head coach. Every other week, Edinburgh say they think they're getting rid of their head coach. The Sharks guys apparently loving the fact that the Box are doing it themselves. But you've got all these other teams who are sacking the head coach. Normally when one coach goes, then you just get this cascade and everyone's sacking coaches. There'll be some internationals go in as well. So, you've just kicked the can down. And if they're as serious as what, so I think one of the owners said they want to sign the likes of Antoine Dupont. If you want to be that serious about the business, you got to get in early, because this has been the problem for the Welsh regions, is because our budget's been so late, we're getting the bottom of the barrel.
And like I said at the start, we're in silly season for rumours. So, we'll start to see so-and-so has re-signed and so-and-so will be leaving at the end of the season. And all that's about to start happening. And the Dragons really need to have a clear idea about where they're going next season and who they need to build on, where they need to build. And I would say they've got some really good academy boys coming through. Yeah. So keeping hold of those academy boys and making them feel safe and secure for the next couple of years has to be a priority. Go on, Age.
So just one thing, because obviously we had something very similar during the Bernard Jackman era, where he basically got rid of all the regional level players and he promoted through a load of academy, but then there was no one there to support them And then the likes of your Dan Babbases, your Josh Lewis's ultimately failed because they had no one to learn off. And I don't want to see the drag another break because there are some very good players there. Brian Woodman looks absolutely fantastic. Was it Harry Ackerman, I think, as well? He's looking like a decent prospect.
Back fit.
You don't want all these players to basically be getting drubbed week in, week out. Without someone they say, "Oh, your kit's better. This is how you improve." Otherwise, you just end up back to square one, and you lose another generation of talent.
So basically,
and I think
what
that's
we're
actually
saying,
somewhere we're actually all of us are at risk of at the moment.
yeah, basically, what we're saying is, Dragons fans, stick with it. Stick with it. You'll get there. You will get there. You may end up at the bottom of the table this year, but you're getting there. Trust me. Okay, let's quickly finish off then with European fixtures for this weekend. So Harley, you are Mr. Predictions. Do you wanna talk and shut me up, or do you want me to keep yakking on? And
I mean, you're more than welcome to keep yakking on. I mean, I normally when you start, I can't stop you anyway. So
it's a good point. It's a good point. You can do it then. Go on. You go. You do predictions.
yeah, I was just trying to remember where we are. So obviously starting off.
You haven't got them, have you? You haven't...
I haven't got predictions. I didn't know if you wanted a full preview for the games. Or you wanted to do them in order. You just say do predictions.
Yeah, let's just do a quick run through and a guess at the scores. So go on.
So Friday night, Scarlets are away to Gloucester, so that's going to be I reckon that's going to be quite a good game. Scarlets, my co-host on the women's pod, Hugh, he's going to that game, so we should be expecting a nice little vlog from that. I think that's going to be quite an exciting game, mainly because I think all the Welsh contingent are on fire, but then so are all the Scarlets. So I could see this being quite back and forth. Whether they manage to finish the chances, I don't know. I think it's probably going to. I'm leaning towards Gloucester just edging it. Like a couple of kicks. Then Cardiff are away to Perpignan. So Perpignan are down the bottom end of the top 14. In fact, they are 12th. So, not quite in that relegation zone, but close enough that it's a worry for them. So they might not give a damn about Europe now. However, it is a home game and French teams turn up for their home games. So I can see Cardiff possibly doing the job, depending on how makeshift the team that goes over is. So I'll say Cardiff just about. Dragons versus Power, they're only just above Perpignan. I can't imagine them sending anything more than the Shags. So this is one that the Dragons should be targeted and should be able to win. And then Ospreys hosting Newcastle. Now Newcastle have got some good wins in the Premiership, but they haven't travelled particularly well. I don't think their focus is going to be on Challenge Cup. So again, I think Osprey should win that very comfortably. Really, I think they've got a pack that should just make them cry.
Nick, are you going to disagree with any of what Harley has said?
I think I think Gloucester will just edge it. I think Perpignan will edge it as well. I do fancy the Dragons to win that game, as Harley said. I think we will be Poe, and I think we'll win the bonus point.
So obviously the only game I'm going to disagree with you is on
Gloucester
Scarlets.
Scarlets are going to win by one.
Scarlets by one. But I think that the interesting bit on that is Hathaway against Murray. Hathaway left Scarlets Academy to go to Gloucester.
Quite a few very good ones actually. I always love seeing the Thomas Williams Gareth Davis rivalry. Gareth usually comes out on top of that one.
But I say Gareth Davis is battered, mate, and I want the guy to have a week off. Genuinely.
But he's not an international player anymore. Now he's in the same category as a non-Welsh qualified. You can flog him, mate.
Yeah, but just from looking after the player to the end of the season. But looking after him to the end of the season, I think he's played every minute of every game, with the exception of about half an hour in that last game.
Yeah, I think
about 20 minutes before that.
Sussman shared a thing, and he's played something like 87% of Scarlet's minutes, and then the last bit is shared between two, which is not healthy.
No, and I think we've over relied on him. So I fully expect him not to be in the squad. So I think
quite
you'll be
disappointed
disappointed.
Anscombe's injured again, because I'd quite like to see him versus Costello as well.
Oh, Anscombe's injured again. Really?
I know.
Hands up
I
anyone
mean, to
that's
be honest, he
shocked.
went off and he looked like he'd done something to his hand in the glass against Exeter as well. But
Yeah.
no, he might have come back to that. But yeah, so there's a couple of nice matchups.
Yeah. Okay. So other than that, then I think we're done, gents. I think we're all wrapped up. So hopefully Jamie will be back with us next week, and we'll be back to a full squad. So we've got 2 weeks of European rugby. Where are we? What day are we on? Jesus.
It's currently the 6th of January.
Yes. Yeah. So the next URC game is on the 24th, isn't it? So we got 2 weeks of European rugby, and then we go back into proper rugby after that. So hopefully Jamie will be with us next week, depending on how the Dragons get on this weekend. Other than that, gents, thank you very much for your time this evening. I hope you have a good week. Enjoy your rugby. All the best. That was RAP, the Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Podcast. Please rate, review and share us on socials if you can, and join us again next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.